yourself in and get ready. The leaders in NBL Supercoach are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Hello and welcome back to the Inside NBL Show. I'm the Matrix. I'm here with Hammer. Mate, I have been playing through the 2002 classic Super Mario Sunshine. What have you been doing?
I haven't been doing that, but I have been basking in beating you this week. How was your round?
Mate, not too bad. I ended up with 465. Which wasn't too bad considering the turd that Rob Edwards and Sam Menenga laid for me. Plateaued out, stayed about the same. I think I went from 705th to 721st. But I can tell you're obviously excited about... We did swap size Skittles. I can tell you're obviously excited to tell me about your team. Mate, how did you go?
Mate, I had 487. And I could have killed you, mate. Talking on the pod all last week, Matt Mooney's my guy. I would never touch Nathan Sobey. You talked me into him. I went Sobey over Mooney, and it was the difference between me being well up in the 500s. Sobey is pus, and now I need to get him out of my team. But I had 487, moved a fair bit up. I've gone up 600 spots. I'm sitting about 1400th now, so trending in the right direction for once.
Yeah. Sounds good, mate. Look, on today's show, we're going to go through breaking news, our squeeze of the week. We're, of course, going to recap the games that were. If we've got time, we're going to go through those with the highest break-evens. We're going to have a little bit of schedule chat. And, mate, just enjoy having a couple beers along the way. Look, in my case, beers. In your case, banner. Mate, do you have any breaking news this week?
What, do I not get an intro?
Taking the piss.
It's time for some news from around the league.
Look, a little bit happening around the league this week. I thought you froze. Look, everything in the Kings is not happy families right now. Jalen Adams injured. And another one of their superstars seems to be very upset with minutes.
Yeah, seems to be. Mate, I don't know. Like, what do you think is actually going on in the Kings? Like, really, it's just a couple of injuries. Gorgon always kind of plays like this. When you had a look at this team and it was this stacked, surely you had to expect this.
Well, we expected it from day one. It probably hasn't been as bad as we expected, but look, I think the Cam Oliver situation, that's who we're talking about, saying he's upset with minutes. He's having a down year. He's in a funk after having a terrific preseason. But it's probably more to do with how well Lepepe's played. We said from the start, Lepepe's role in that team actually suits having that many stars, but they're just not getting that second unit and letting Cam Oliver lead it either. He's still sort of second fiddle, third fiddle when he's out there. It's a mess, isn't it?
I still think what they're doing, and I know that they haven't had a lot of success at the moment, I still think what they're doing with Kelly Lepepe in the starting lineup is the answer. Like, maybe if you're going with this Tyler Robertson lineup due to Jalen Adams being out a little bit, I'm presuming you were half leading into that. But due to Jalen Adams probably spending some times off the court, that might change it. But I think Cam Oliver with the second unit made the most sense. And yeah, he's been playing 20 minutes a night. I think he's capped out at 25 in his biggest game. But you had to expect this with you signing up with Cooks and blokes like that.
Yeah, 100%. This is where they need an NBL mid-season trade window. I think my beloved Jack Jumpers could trade Tarangi and cash considerations for
Jalen
Cam Oliver and maybe salvage their season.
Jalen Galloway? Because I'm starting to look at this man. Like, he's starting to get a few more minutes. He's 150K. We know how talented he is.
Mm.
Mate, like,
Yeah.
Sydney seems to be a dumpster fire, but surely it's still got to be a luxury to be called a dumpster fire and have this much talent.
Yeah, look, when these things happen, injuries, guys throwing the, spitting the dummy, someone has to benefit. And that's what we're going to have to unpack over the next couple of weeks is who that is. Look, more news out of Illawarra staying in New South Wales. Jason Tatum was fined $3,000 after his post-game rant about bubbles. Man, are we going to chip in and pay him? Because I think we're all thinking the same thing.
Mate, if you pop onto our Patreon, we could start a GoFundMe. We could do it. I would do this for Justin Tatum because honestly, look,
Pretty sure
what
his
he did
kids
say.
chip in.
Yeah. Well, that's a chump change for him. That's like him throwing 5 cents, 5 cents into the little guide dogs thing. But realistically, like, I love that he went out there and said it because if he didn't, somebody else was going to. It was a bad call in my eyes. Whether it cost them the game or not is up for debate. But he has been on a run of about 3 games of doing this, Bubbles has. And look, the ultimate pest. I'm a little worried that Bubbles is just going to be remembered for these kind of antics rather than being one of Australia's greatest shooters of all time.
What? You don't think he's going to be remembered for his 2-game cameo he played for the Gladstone Port City Power back in, what was it, 2014?
You look, he was good there, though.
It's not hard to beat Bundaberg. Cool. Anyway,
That's
that's about it for breaking news. There's not a whole lot happening outside of we will see the first game of the new coach at Southeast Melbourne this week. So I know DVG, a few other guys have been in the chat over on the Discord thinking, what does this mean for the team? Who's going to benefit? Does the lineup stay the same? So if you want to weigh in on that, there's some good chat going on the Discord.
Yep. Sounds good, mate. Let's head into our squeeze of the week. So every week we give away a 4-in-1 or a standard squeeze pack. This week it goes to Brett from Brett's Ballers. But if you did want to get any of their items, I'm using the lovely pink 4-in-1 today. If you did want to get any of these, just spend IFS 50. Use IFS 15, to get yourself 15% off. To be completely honest, maybe you don't win this week. It's worth paying up anyway, and then you can just get yourself some squeeze products afterwards. But Brett from Brett's Ballers scored 563. Captain Parker Jackson Cartwright somehow has massaged this team. Parker Jackson Cartwright, Matt Mooney, Xavier Cooks, Jack White, Matt Hurt into the starting lineup. And then he still had Will Hickey's 78 on the bench, Kareem Lopez's 46, and Angus Glover, Ulbrich, Ben Henschel on the bench. It was an absolute ripping team. And he has moved up to overall rank 171 with that one. So he'd be pretty stoked.
That's insane. I think what was the top score overall this week? We only got him by about 3 or 4 points, didn't it?
Yeah.
Something. That's massive. Like, that's the difference a captain choice makes. And man, the foresight to bring in Kareem Lopez. I think maybe I mentioned that last week.
Is this the great man in the chat himself, Brett? Slide into our DMs. Mm-hmm. You've earned yourself a standard squeeze pack or a 4-in-1 pack. Appreciate you watching the show. And look, genuinely, I'm going to keep saying it every week. Outside of the cash prizes given by NBL, Insight Fantasy Sports gives away the best weekly prize. So we have a change in leader, though. Mark from Cotton Eye Joe's has jumped over Ethan from Epti Brycus. He's into 7th overall and leading our Insight League. So congratulations to Mark from Cotton Eye Joe's. But let's get into the recap. Let's just start to have a look at the games that were, hey?
Huge round.
As she's loading, the first one, New Zealand versus Southeast Melbourne, and it was a bit of a blowout. Supercoach scores were deflated. It was a bit of a bludger, to be honest. But and I were probably both happy to see Parker Jackson Cartwright and Sobey up the top. We're probably just hoping for a bit more than 33 and 31 respectively.
Yeah, look, it's tough with Parker Jackson Cartwright. We've been riding this guy for weeks now, and it just seems that his teammates just keep letting him down. It was a really down game for New Zealand. They only scored 62 points all up, so 33 is not bad, but the number of assists that go begging for this man, like, can someone please make a layup? Come on.
I know. And Matt Mooney did his thing with 11 points and went and got, I think it was 5 assists himself, got a couple of steals, which got him to the 31. But outside of that, they were just missing their shots. They had Anticevic, am I saying that right? With the 16. He was a cheapie, and Sam Menenga has just been absolutely disappointing owners since everybody brought him in 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, beyond disappointing. This is worse than the Cairns Menenga. Hey, talking of disappointing, we've mentioned this all year, and he continues to just dig a hole. Bolden, once again, failed to fire. We're in a game here without Max Darling, without a number of other forwards, including Mo King, and he had every opportunity to do something, and he, in 21 minutes, 6 points, 3 rebounds. It's not enough, is it?
No, it's not good enough for somebody. Look, maybe he went to retirement for a reason, to be honest. Like he did retire not that long ago, and then come out of it. I thought he fit quite well with Sydney. Maybe it's fit, but I mean, he's kind of should nearly just be a 4 on this team. He's ended up with 3 rebounds in this one. Like, just not enough is going on with Bolden. I'd much rather see them lean in. Honestly, they look better with Freddie Gillespie out on the floor, and that's probably saying something.
I was about to say, what's the only thing more disappointing than 3 rebounds? And that's 2 rebounds by Freddie Gillespie. 2 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal in 19 minutes. Hey, you touched on Grant Anticevic. He had the 12 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist in this one. Is he a cheapie you might have half an eye on?
Yeah, like if he went into this stretch at the start of going into the 3 doubles in a row, then maybe. Like 94K is not paying a lot, but you're not banking on his points every week. Like we're talking about this being a great success with 16 Supercoach points. Like not fantastic. Look, I'm going to be staying away. I think we've missed out on the bulk of price rises. You might make 40K, but I think it's just going to be a slow burn with this one.
And I think he's peaked too. Mo King's to come back. He seems to be the one they want. There was no McCarron again. So there's a lot of minutes up for grabs that aren't normally there. The only other one I want to highlight in this game, outside of my man Mooney, is Kareem Lopez. And I'm more just pointing this out before we really break down his game in their second game of the round. Only played the 12 minutes here, had the 4 fouls, so he's played with a bit of foul trouble. With the 2 points, the 2 rebounds, the 1 assist, and a steal. Look, he's one I got my eye on, but we'll talk a lot more about him in game 2.
Yep. No, sounds good. I know we didn't talk too much about Southeast Melbourne, but Matt Hurt, still pretty good with the 29 Supercoach points. Sobey, I was happy with the 31, being that he was 250K. Your disappointing jab towards Sobey come from his second game, not from this one. And Malik Lewis, much in the same ilk, I suppose, as Kareem Lopez with the 15 Supercoach points here.
Yeah, look, it's always hard when you got a bit of a blowout. And this was on full display in the very last game of the round where Melbourne hammered the Cairns Taipans because they put the cue in the rack. You get guys who should have gone on in a close game and racked up those Supercoach scores in the last 5-10 minutes, and you just don't get it here. But look, all in all, I was pretty happy after game 1 with my start of the round.
Mate, Illawarra fell to Melbourne United. Of course, a lot of chat about Bubbles, a lot of chat about that foul, a lot of chat about Justin Tatum. But there's 2 guys we do need to highlight, and there's one from each team. Will Davo Hickey, the man. I tell you what, I might dress up as Will Hickey for Halloween this year because this man is in my nightmares.
Yeah, because you're probably the only bloke who didn't hold on to him.
240K now with a -12 break even. I might need to nearly bring him back in. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, look, I don't really mean to bring it up all the time, but I feel superior every time I look at you and your team without my man Hickey in it. Look, he was awesome. Look, it was a little inflated because we did have that injury to Trey Kell. He went down, but I think regardless of that, he's hit a purple patch. And we talked about this from preseason. He was our pick to be the number one cash cow. We went a little cold after the first few games. He took a while to warm into it, but this is exactly what we were expecting, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, I never expected him to score 47 points. I probably expected him to top out at about 200K. But anyway, here we are.
Yeah. Look, I can feel the salt in your words, mate. But look, he was phenomenal. Played the 27 minutes, 17 points. He had the 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He was absolutely everywhere. 3 steals, 2 blocks, even pushed that score up higher. Look, there were people who, with the Delhi news, when Delhi wasn't playing here, probably had an opportunity to start Hickey. And if you did, you would have been absolutely over the moon with this one.
Yeah, you would have been. I mean, I don't know if too many people would have been confident enough to do that, but you might not have had any other choice.
Yeah.
I tell you who did benefit from Delhi being out, and that's
me.
Jack White and Flynn Cameron.
Yeah.
They were, look, honestly, they might nearly need to. Cameron's huge. They might nearly need to start about how are they going to get him in the rotation as well, even when Illy comes back, because he was great.
Yeah. But it's also concerning that he is so great. Because what happens when you get the 3 of them back? You got 3 guys now wanting minutes. Like, what do you do? Like, you have to play him somehow. Someone's got to give up some minutes here.
I mean, I am staying away from this guard rotation from Melbourne United, regardless, once Illy comes back in. But Jack White, 12 points, 19 rebounds, couple of assists, three blocks. I think it was 3 steals as well. Yeah. The man was everywhere, and this is genuinely what I expected. I didn't ever expect this from Will Hickey, but I did expect this from Jack White. He's that good.
How many Supercoach points did that translate to?
49 with
Weird, right?
Lost 6 in turnovers.
Did you feel that was unders? Like, I'm watching the game, I'm looking at the box score, thinking 19 rebounds. This guy should be tickling the 60s at a bare minimum.
That's your fantasy bias, my friend. Because their only work. Sorry, we're referencing the competition that was before Supercoach for those newer members. But a rebound only translates to 1 point. Like, that's why it's so guard friendly. Oh, that's a good call, Corey, with the white captain. But that's why we favor guards. And, we always talk about spending up for PJCs and Cottons so often because assists are worth so many more than rebounds. You never get 19 assists, though.
Yeah. Whereas in the old format, 3 offensive rebounds, 16 defensive rebounds, that would have translated to 41 Supercoach points just on its own.
Yeah.
Like, this is, it hurts. You used to be able to load up even with your 6-man position just on these forwards and absolutely take it to the bank. But he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal all weekend. When we talk about the second game, we'll just talk about just how ripped off we were. But look, I was floating after these 2 games. I thought, this is my round. I'm on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably should just mention Darius Day's 9 Supercoach points. Trey Kell with the injury in this one before we head into the next one. Mate, it was Adelaide taking care of the Cairns Taipans. And Montrezl Harrell, 71 Supercoach points.
Oh,
correct me if I'm wrong, that's the highest single game score this year.
Yeah. I want to know if it's a single highest game score in this format because they're fun to watch. I love watching the Adelaide games now.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so disappointing that their schedule doesn't get better till later on in the year when these guys are going to be 500K. I don't know. But Montrezl Harrell has just made a home in Adelaide. Looks fantastic. What did he score? 36 points.
Yep. 16
rebounds.
5
blocks. Yeah, absolutely. And only 2 turnovers as well. Yep. It doesn't get more dominating for this. Listening to our show last week, we were worried about how Sam Wardenberg was going to be able to handle Montrezl Harrell. And look, it kind of paid off. I wish I'd traded him out the week before. So he was I think, the most traded out player last week. And those guys are going to be really disappointed. But look, what can you do?
Look, Corey's in the chat here. He's saying he kept Harrell over Prather when the news of Hump was out. Look, that's got to factor into it too. Humphreys was out. Trez is their man. Look, they tiptoed around at the start of the year. Can't play them both together. Then they figured it out. There's still going to be a few politics involved. But look, you really need to make Trez the guy. He was just dominant. He had so much more space there too without Hump blocking up the key. Having that Lat Mayan space in the floor, not that he did much, but it just gave... He's doing more by omission. By not doing anything and standing out on the three-point line, he's given Trez the room to work. So, look, this was just good to watch. It was a clinic.
Yeah, Kendrick Davis, fantastic too. Like, I can't believe we just talked this long without mentioning the fact that Kendrick Davis also dropped 51. And that was with the 8 assists, the 29 Supercoach points. His assists from the G League are really just starting to translate as he gets more comfortable with this team, isn't it?
Yeah, we talked about this preseason too. He was a guy we said would go very close to averaging that G League stat line of, it was like 19 points, 8 assists, and I'd have to check, but I think he's pretty close to averaging that now. He was one of our favourites going in, and look, another guy had a bit of a slow start, but he's come good. I just wish the schedule was better right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you can't be holding him. I mean, that's still only 25 and 25. That's kind of illy numbers on a double, so you can't really hold him. But look, if you did hold him this long, you'd hold him another week due to the fact that he has a 3 break even. Look, one guy I'm looking to get rid of is Rob Edwards. 35 Supercoach points in this one, 27 real points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. Filled up the stat sheet. Exactly what I was hoping from him. Sam Wardenberg with the 31 as well. In the other respect, he was hard to guard for Adelaide. But, I mean, couldn't guard his own shadow in this one.
He's been serviceable. And with Tanner Groves out, they've had to lean heavily on him. I've had him since we talked about weeks ago, first brought him in. He's tipped over that 300K mark. He's allowed me to have that money now to go up to a Doolittle or something like that. But I think this is the end of the line for him. He's had some pretty high break evens. It was 58 last week. I don't know what it is this week, but I think it's time to get off the Wardenberg train. The schedule's turning to pass. And look, he's served a purpose. You can't get attached to these guys. You've got to move on at some point. I think this is it for Wardenberg.
Mate,
I think it's also important, Matrix, to mention, though, that this was an overtime game. Some of these scores are slightly inflated. A lot of these guys played over 40 minutes.
Yep. Did we see a little bit of a changing of the guard if Taran isn't actually back this week or next week? Between Jackson McCoy and Kyle Adnam in this one. Just a bit more confidence. McCoy was just that little bit better in this one.
We saw a little bit, but from all reports, Taran is back next round. So I don't think there's enough there for me to really want to jump on Jackson McCoy. But, I mean, something must have happened during the week because he's actually hit the court this week. I don't like much about his game, though. Are you seeing anything you like?
I'm seeing negative 16 break even. That's about the only thing I like. I just, Can's schedule gets bad. I'm not that excited about him unless I hear that Taran's out for 3 or 4 more weeks. I mean, there was teams that were playing Kyle Adnan earlier on in the season. It's just kind of that situation where you could maybe hold him if that allowed you to get one of these guns that you really want this week, 1 week earlier.
Yeah, look, you make a little bit of coin, and if it frees up, some cash to do some other things. But look, it's probably a problem only for those who don't have Will Hickey because my bench guard spots are pretty full. I don't know
fuck up. Perth Wildcats took care of the Kings. This one was actually a ripper.
Yeah, it was one that I had penciled in to be a blowout with the Kings running away with this, and it was everything but.
Yep, Pinder and Cooks up there with 47 and 59 Supercoach points respectively.
Huge.
We saw the double-double from Xavier Cooks. Also got the 6 assists, the 3 blocks. I think it was 3 steals as well. Just everything you wanted from a forward. I wish that he would get center eligibility, to be honest. But still rising in cash at 430K.
Yeah, look, I don't often say this, but I may have been, actually, I'm not going to say I was wrong. I probably just wasn't as right as I normally am on Cooks. And I've been too stubborn to change this year, and I haven't jumped on the Cooks bandwagon. And do you know how hard it is to watch a game when every time a bloke touches the ball, you're hoping he turns it over, and he doesn't?
Yeah, I actually do. But I mean, the whole Xavier Cooks at the start of the year thing was we expected more from Cam Oliver. Somehow in this game, Cam Oliver and Cooks both cooked. And I really love that from Cam Oliver in this one. Just so disappointing that he reverted to that disappointing self in the next game, which is going to leave owners with that bitter taste in his mouth. Look, he was only 250K at the start. Didn't change in price much again this week. I think he might have went down 6K.
Yeah. Look,
mate, we're just hoping for more of this.
Looking at the box score, look, I know he's upset about his minutes. He's played 23 and a half in this game. He had the 17 points, 9 rebounds. Another coach who's taken a guy out, one short of a double-double, Dick. But look, the only person who played more minutes than him was Xavier Cooks. Oh, maybe Galloway played an extra 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Liafa played an extra 4 minutes. But, like, he's up there. Like, it's not like he's not playing at all. So
it's probably more he's not the man in this team. And remember last time he played in Australia, he was Space Cam. He was going to the moon.
But you got to remember that Cairns team had spent their entire budget on the 3 imports, Machado, DJ Newell, Cam Oliver, and they were going to the under 12 wheelchair league to fill out the rest of their roster. Like, they had nobody. He had to play 40 minutes a game. And obviously from a fantasy standpoint, a Supercoach standpoint, that's what you want. But look, it's a different kettle of fish, right?
Yeah, it is now. I think, look, I don't think it's going to go well for him. Basically requesting a trade, saying he's wanted out of it. But I think Jalen Galloway's coming for his minutes a little bit. I think Jalen Galloway's a good fit in this team. Was obviously coming back from a pretty bad injury. The way that they've worked him back in, he missed a lot of the preseason due to that Milwaukee Bucks contract. Got cancelled. Everybody was fine with paying him the money. We didn't know how he was going to fit. I mean, at 140K, he starts to become somebody I'm toying with in a couple of weeks' time.
Especially if this Cam Oliver situation plays out with him potentially going home. And look, Brian Goorjian's been around a while. He signed a 3-year contract. You see what he did with the Boomers cutting Cooks. I don't think he's scared to actually make a stand here. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even play Cooks next game. He's going to be that old man shouting at clouds. And Cooks is going to, Cam Oliver's going to feel the wrath.
Yeah. I mean, I will not own Cam Oliver that week, so I'm completely fine with it. Mate, Pinder was absolutely cooking in this one. 47 Supercoach points. Said last week, just got a little stat. I think it was from Supercoach Pleb. Just saying that Keanu Pinder, since the NBL has adopted Supercoach, has never been sub 300K. Went up 11K and about to hit a golden patch in the schedule. I am extremely interested in Keanu Pinder.
Look, I've had Doolittle on my radar for weeks. The guy's a walking double-double. But the fact that Pinder is centre eligible as well, has the 5 straight double-doubles. And look, the only guy I'm looking at as a centre around here right now is Matt Hurt, who's also forward eligible. I think Pinder could be a real pod here.
I think that he will be one of the most adopted this week.
Potentially.
I think a lot of people will bring him in. Of course, there's a lot of recency bias. They'll just see the 47 from last week, and everybody will bring him in. But the fact that I don't own Sam Wardenberg, so I've got to make some moves. But the fact that you can genuinely make money from Sam Wardenberg to Keanu Pinder, that was not on my bingo card at the start of the year.
Yeah. And that's what makes it very attractive. If you're going to get a guy who, if you're comparing Doolittle and Pinder, if you go Pinder, you're going to save $64,000, something like that. And you get the opportunity to play him at centre. That's starting to look attractive. It's something I hadn't considered, but I do need to be careful because the last time he talked me into something didn't end up real well at all.
I mean, Sobey was a good trade in this week. He made money. He scored like 50 points. You fucking whinging bastard.
Yeah, what did Matt Mooney score? More than that.
He was more. He was like 60K more as well. It's probably all relative.
Hey, look, do we need to be careful with Pinder? First game of the season, he was phenomenal. He had 5 threes. He was looking electric. And then he went missing for 5 rounds. 4 rounds. He's popped up this week. No Cotton. He's done a bit of a dance, and he's now back on our radar. Are we putting too much faith in that one game? Because, like, right now, 2 good games don't make a summer.
Yeah, but you keep saying about all these other guys, like you keep saying Darius Days, oh, geez, I hope that he's shit when the schedule starts to get good. Well, right now, Perth's schedule's going good. He was going shit. He's at an extremely affordable price. I'm willing to take that risk with Keanu Pinder. This is just what it's not what you spend, it's what you save. And I'm not spending $420K for 2024 Keanu Pinder, but I am spending $300K for him.
Wow. Look, Rob's in the chat saying, I don't trust Pinder. I don't know if he's talking about Keanu or his father. But look, I'm probably in the same camp.
Yeah. Mate, look, I want to stay on Perth for a second just because they're going to become so relevant. So we're going to have a little bit of a further deep dive into Perth than we normally would with some of these teams. And I've got 2 questions for you. It's Doolittle and Windler, the import guards there. And then I've also got an Elijah Pepper and Ben Henschel question because we're probably going to want a cheapie at guard, and we're probably going to want, I suppose, a Pinder, a Windler, or a Doolittle as well. Doolittle has really impressed me at the start of the year, but I'm starting to get off him. Like, his break even heading into next week, 77, and he's been great. And look, I did want him. Now I'm just thinking I'll just save the money and just get Pinder.
Look, the break even's big, but he's a walking double-double. He had 14 rebounds in this one. He just missed out on the 9 points. He shot like shit, 4 or 15. But he's been consistent. He's played 34 minutes. He leads them in minutes per game. I think you can ignore the break even. Like, you're not in it to make cash with this guy. And over 5 rounds, it's potentially going to even out. Like, you're not, if you lose cash this week, the break even shifts down a bit. We're going to hold for 5 rounds.
I think that by the end of it, by the end of this 5-game stretch, I think I will own Doolittle as well. I just think with this break even, I can wait a week and wait until Cooks finishes his line of double doubles, and then pivot to whoever I see take that spot. I think it's perfectly fine to get Pinder in now, but I am going to wait a week on Doolittle. And Dylan Windler, for me, he looked a lot better when Bryce Cotton was playing. I just think that he's somebody that benefits from Cotton. But now he's just getting defended way too well. So
look, if I was going to rank them, I'd be going Cotton, Pinder, and then Windler as a distant third. I think Windler, he's a good player, and he'll space the floor. He helps out a bit that way. He's a bit of a threat. He opens up lanes when Cotton's there. But as a super coach option, I'm not loving it. But I do see your point, and I would be doing the exact same if I held Cooks. I'd be bringing in Pinder this week and then freeing up that cash to get off Cooks and going to Doolittle. knowing that Doolittle's probably going to get a better break even and drop in price. There's a bit of a low game last week, I think, that's going to drop out of his 3-game average too.
Um, as you've thrown in my face multiple times today,
Yes.
you probably don't need a bench guard. But if you had to choose between 122k Ben Henschel with an 11 break even or 126k Elijah Pepper with a 17 break even, who would you pick? Because there's 5 games, in which case you can get, say they average 15. You can get double 15 every week. You can get a bit of cash generation. You can bank some points along the way. If you had to pick between Henschel and Pepper, who is it?
For me, it's Henschel. And let me tell you why, Matrix. He seems to be one that's in favour at the moment. He, in this one, had a bit of a stinker shooting the ball. He had the 8 assists. They're trusting him to run the offense. Excuse me. Look, he's also forward eligible, which means, especially for us Davo Hickey owners, you can shift him up to forward and bring in another option on your bench for the guard spot. So, look, I think the flexibility and the all-round games there, the 8 assists were really encouraging. Whereas Pepper, man, he looked bad in this one, right? He's going to be torn a new one in the film session this week. He came out and he was just jacking. Do you ever remember playing NBA Hang Time on the Nintendo 64?
I do, actually.
And they'd hit you up with that. He couldn't hit the backside of a barn. That's all that was in my head watching Elijah Pepper.
I rate that. I've just got one more one for the Perth Wildcats.
Who you got?
I think it's Almanza.
Yeah.
I've been pretty excited about Almanza. I'm excited about Almanza as a prospect, but I just don't know about his role in a premiership, championship contending team for the Perth Wildcats. And the more I watch it, the more I just think this is what he is, a 12 to 15 point per game Supercoach scorer. I think a lot of people are going to be bringing him in, and I don't think it's the end of the world. But if you think at the end of this 5-game stretch that he's going to be 200k, I've got news for you. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. Fool's gold for sure. He's not the second coming of Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr, he didn't play as many minutes as we would have liked to last year, but he was a high points per minute guy. He could come in, block a couple of shots on the same possession, and turn like a 4-minute stint into 11 Supercoach points. I'm not seeing that with Almanza, even though he's a solid player. He seems just a lot more fundamental. He's not getting the blocks and the steals that you expect.
I think the biggest problem for me is how many minutes Doolittle's playing. And it's not a problem. Yep. It's actually great when I consider Doolittle as a prospect heading into next week. But I also don't see Doolittle losing that.
No.
We know the way he really is. He'll stick to his guns, and if that's his plan, it's obviously Pinder and Doolittle's team with a bit of Windler in there playing at guard, and whether it's Pepper, whether it's Henschel, you can nearly choreograph the way this team is going to play every week. And this is what Almanza is going to be playing for the Perth Wildcats. Look, he'll still get picked high in the draft, and look, everybody in Australia is going to say, hey, I got to watch Izan Almanza play, and I think that he can be a great NBA player in the future. But this year, at his age, I think this is just what he is, a disappointing Supercoach player.
Yeah, for sure. And last thing before we move on, does anyone else hate hearing John really talk as much as I do? Just grinds on me. Irritating.
Yeah. I mean, save that for your therapist, mate. I don't have anything for you there. But the Illawarra Hawks, 88, took care of Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, 82. Look, Illawarra were good all weekend, took care of Southeast Melbourne. And I actually think Southeast Melbourne are starting to play a lot better. I don't think that that's due to Derek Walton Jr. I think it's due to some coaching changes. We might see some changes again this week with Southeast Melbourne, which is sort of warding me off Matt Hurt a little bit. But he was good in this one. 36 Supercoach points. Not going to make any cash. I think this is probably the price that he's at. Might go to 380. But 18 points. Oh, what was it? 9 rebounds, a couple of blocks, just accumulated.
Yeah, he didn't look spectacular. He almost looked like he was struggling a bit. I was watching him closely and thinking, I was riding every shot that went up, but he got there in the end. And I don't think he's had one game under 30 yet. He's been solid. Sobey
I
played for
think he had
33
29
minutes
in the
and get him
first one.
pump up. Yeah. Talk to me about Malik Lewis.
I'm an owner. I've
You
been
are?
pretty impressed. It might be one of those availability is the best ability kind of situations. He's just out there on the court. He's athletic. If there's a fast break, he seems to be there. He's a big, lanky forward. I just like the way that he plays. And if you talk about Nathan Sobey not making anyone better around him, and I'm actually one of the people that like Nathan Sobey. Malik Lewis just gets his. He'll get out there. He'll get some rebounds. He'll just accumulate. I think at least with the guys, like he got 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 12 points, got a block, just got it from everywhere, which is what you want out of your cheapies that play minutes. But
Yeah.
he's starting to get like at 170k, he's no longer a cheapie. I think you've missed the boat on him. But look, very happy for owners that have him. I think he's better than Kareem Lopez for those thinking about getting Kareem Lopez instead of Malik Lewis. I think none of them are the answer at this stage. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Look, DVG, last year's winner, jumped up on our Discord earlier today asking about Malik Lewis. He was asking, what do we think the new coaching changes are going to mean for him? You got any thoughts on this?
I mean, the same as when Sam came in. Like, you've seen Malik Lewis be successful in the starting lineup, be good when they were losing, be good when they were winning. I think that he's the best fit out there. At least until Derek Walton Jr. comes back in, he will have his starting spot. And even then, I think that he will just continue to be out there.
Yeah. Look, I think this new coach has probably been watching for 3 weeks now. We don't know a hell of a lot about him. He's coached college. He's coached in Europe. He's apparently defensive minded and says all the things that every coach coming in says, like, I'm going to hold everyone accountable. But from what he's seen, I think he's going to stick with it because Malik Lewis, he's a better fit. It's almost like Kelly LePepe. Sometimes you don't want to put all your talent in the starting lineup. And by putting Joe Wisekamp to the bench, both him and Malik Lewis have had their best games in that configuration. So I think we see more of it. It might just be a shift of more minutes towards Wisekamp, as he gets a feel for this team.
Can I talk about something positively that if that happens, I think that we might even get to almost a close swap between Malik Lewis and Joey Wieskamp. And if Wieskamp goes back into the starting lineup, I think that he can cook as well. So, I mean, if Malik Lewis touches 200k, if Wieskamp goes down to 200k, schedule depending, it's probably not the end of the world regardless. We could just even make a straight swap in this team. And I hate banking in trades, but the upside is so much better with Joey there.
Yeah, look, they both played 29 minutes in this one, and I just think Joe Wieskamp, he's the guy, that second unit now. Like, it was a bit of a weird dynamic before with Derek Walton and Sobey. Someone was like, I'll split minutes a bit. Sobey was trying to get his groove with the second unit, but Wieskamp's the only real scoring option when the bench is out there, right?
Yeah, he is, and he's good. Like, he is a really good option. I do think that he was better when DWJ was running the offense, though.
Yeah, very good.
Sobey with the 18 Supercoach points, still scored 14, still missed a lot of easy ones, which was disappointing. Lost 10 points in turnovers, which, I mean, as the point guard in a losing team, hey, you might just have to cop this L on this one.
Yeah. Look, next game of the round was Bullets Jack Jumpers. This was a much needed win for the Jackies. They got up over your Bullets by 8 points. But it was hard to watch, man. This was a grind.
Mate, we talked about the fact that usually we would go to this game and watch it. I think we ran into each other at the brewery and caught us both out not watching this one, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you'd be asking for a refund despite the result. But look, in the end, there were a few relevant sort of Supercoach things to talk about. Norton popped up with 20 points and 5 assists in this one and 3 steals. He would have been probably no one's team. Bateman off the bench, he's been having a good time there. This was a bit of a down game. But the Jackies, it was just a mixed bag, wasn't it? Everyone was just a bit mediocre.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you held Will Magnay through the single and you're like, well, here's 26 Supercoach points, take what he's priced at, fine. Jordan Crawford, I'm always seem to be happy with 28 Supercoach points, but realistically, he's priced it in and around that anyway, so I hate the fact that he throws in a 14 or a 15 Supercoach point every now and then. And then you lost money on Milton Doyle despite being the top scorer for the whole team. I just hate it.
It's gross. But you talk about Magnay, you're acting like you're happy with a score in the 20s. Are you really?
I'm not. I'm happy because I don't have him. But that's what he's priced at. That's like 26 Supercoach points at 314K. He scored exactly what he's priced at. Like, no, I'm not that happy. But what was the other option? Having Menenga this week? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just is what it is.
As great as he was last year, he is just absolutely drowning in mediocrity this season, and it's really irritating me.
I understand why he only played that many minutes now, because he was a points per minute beast when he had a serviceable backup, when he came off the bench, whatever you want to call that. And now that he's got those extended minutes, I don't know if people have worked him out. I think he's tired. He's often in foul trouble. I don't know if fitness is the issue. I don't know if it's just that hard to run the blood through those big long levers of his.
Well, we went to the cricket analogy a lot last year. They'd let Marcus Lee go in against the new ball. Shout out to Insight Fantasy bringing the BBL this week. And then he'd come in once the shine had come off the ball and he'd be beating up second-rate centres. Now he's the only centre on this team. And he has to stay out of foul trouble. Maybe he's not as aggressive. Maybe he's playing better opposition, but it's just not the same. It's not what we really rode for the second half of the year last year.
Yeah. I could not be less interested in Brisbane Bullets players. I could not be less interested in the Brisbane Bullets, to be honest.
Look, the only one I've still got an eye on is Terrell Harrison. And look, we're end of round 6 now, coming to round 7. It probably is time over the next week or so to start maybe thinking about Brisbane.
He scored 30. That's about what he's priced at. He comes in with a break even of 33. If you can't get him in this week, you can get him in next week. But it might be a Doolittle or Harrison kind of situation next week. You can probably only get one of them with your Cook's money, with your Cam Oliver money. God help you, you people. Are you okay?
Yeah. Look, and I like the Harrison fit. And that's where the benefit of having guys like Hurt or Pinder comes in, where they can slide down to that forward position as well. And you can carry them both because there's going to be a bit of crossover with the schedules with Brisbane and Perth.
Mate, I hear a lot of social media saying about how bad Sydney were. But I actually think the New Zealand Breakers were good in the next one. New Zealand Breakers took care of the Sydney Kings. And the Sydney Kings are that Lakers-like team, that Sydney Roosters-like team if you're an NRL fan, Collingwood if you're an AFL fan. Everybody just loves to talk about them. But give New Zealand Breakers their flowers. Matt Mooney was fantastic. Kareem Lopez scored his best Supercoach score. Bolden even had a good game. Everybody that stepped out on the floor played their role except for Menenga. I hate that guy.
Yeah. He's dead to us. But look, Parker Jackson Cartwright, this is one thing we love about teams when we're looking at them for Supercoach. 38 minutes. He came off for a total of 1:59, and there's footage of him on the bench saying, "Why you take me out? Why you take me out, coach?" I'm like, man, come on. Look, Mooney played almost 36 minutes as well. Lopez played 30. This high concentration of minutes is something I really like to see.
Yeah, and I mean, Lopez only played 12 minutes in the first one. So there could be an element of fool's gold with Lopez. It's just he's coming into a double-double with a break-even of 7. You just might end up just making 20K and just be done with him, correct?
Look, he's 17. He's a kid, so he's going to have ups and downs. But look, he's starting. He started through the preseason. I think they like him. We do have to remember, though, that they were without Max Darling in this one. They did start Bolden. So, there's going to be a bit more sort of to play out there. Look, New Zealand are actually playing really good basketball. I was tipping them to be awful preseason, and Coppinen's come in and he's obviously got some buy-in from them. Not only are they a good Supercoach team, but they're actually probably going to be there at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I see him making the finals, but they're going to be pushing for it.
They'll make the 6.
Yeah, true. Mate, Xavier Cook's 36 Supercoach points. We've talked about him enough. This is just what he does.
How annoying is this? I was watching this game, hoping he turned it over every time as a non-owner. This stat line looks really shit, and it's still 36 Supercoach points. He had 9 points. He had 7 rebounds. They came in
2
late.
blocks.
It just shouldn't be that high. He really is suited to this game. He's elite, and I'm very jealous of everyone who owns him.
Kelly LePepe was pretty good in this one with the 26. Again, accumulated. I think it was 8, 7, and 5 with a steal. Liafa, a little bit of a coming out game at 140K. Do you touch him with Adams out? I don't know.
I don't think so. Well, it's hard to know. Like, Liafa had a great game. He came off the bench 29 minutes, but Tyler Robinson still played 25 as the starter. Liafa's been hot and cold this year. There was only 2 weeks ago they were talking about the guy hasn't even been able to hit a field goal this year, and then he pops out and drops 6 threes.
I mean, Sean Bruce scored 30-something points the other day, so let's not get too excited. I think it's done by committee, and Gorgin's just riding the hot hand. We know that he does rotate regardless. Like, even in this, like, you have a look at how many they've played, an extra 2 players than New Zealand Breakers. For Supercoach, we do love those teams that, like you said, play a tight rotation, but I think they're just throwing out whatever. They're just trying to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks with Jalen Adams out. And it looks like Jalen could be out for a fair amount of time. I just don't think I want Liafa or Robertson. Really, I just am going to stay away from everyone but Cooks.
And outside of Cooks, it's just too unpredictable. Like, look at this one, 16 minutes only for Tui.
I mean, I just would have thought that he would have been one of those guys coming out there and playing big minutes. Like, he's been sensational.
Is Brian Gorgon getting senile?
Maybe.
That's about the only thing I can put this lineup change down to. It's all over the place.
I mean, it cost him a win to New Zealand, so look, maybe maybe he was just trying to teach some boys some lessons. So that sounds like something he would do.
Talking of lessons, last game of the round, Melbourne handed an absolute lesson to the Cairns Taipans. This was a bloodbath.
I was so excited to watch this. Like, just the last game of the round, I'd finished doing everything I'd wanted to be doing. I was watching the International Rugby League. All the NBA games had been finished. I enjoyed the game before this, and this just ruined my weekend.
Yeah, look, the first half was good. I was riding the Jack White train. He played 20 minutes. I'm assuming he played the whole first half. I don't think I saw him in the second. But once again, he was all over that stat sheet. We just didn't see him again in the second half.
They put the Q in the rack, and I mean, at least Ford still played their guys for Wardenberg owners and stuff. I would have expected him to have an absolute turd in this one. I see a lot of questions in the chat about Alex Higgins teacher. I'm not going to say what it sounds like, but 58,500K. People are asking about his spot in the rotation. The fact that I can't spell his name, I can't say his name, probably tells you enough, don't you think?
Look, this guy, I wouldn't touch him. We've got to remember that there's guys to come back in this squad, and this game was over. This is why he was seeing the court. Like, normally he's getting splinters in his ass from sitting on the pine, but he has featured in 2 games. And this is a kid that's not going to die wondering. He's got to be one of the highest points per minute guys this season. He had the 4 points and 8 rebounds in 10 minutes, and I think a block as well. He was everywhere.
Yeah, and like you do always run the risk of adding somebody like this and then him not seeing the court and not getting that cash generation you want. Negative 21 break even. At least I think Jackson McCoy will hit the court to let you cash out on the minus 16.
And if it's cash, I think it's probably better to go to McCoy. It's probably a little bit safer. But yeah, I don't think this guy's going to really play unless it's a blowout. Look, Taryn's back this week, though. Does that affect McCoy in your thinking?
Yeah, I would love to be able to go out to a serviceable 58K guard, but I'm staying away from McCoy because I think Taron will still play decent minutes. And I think when push comes to shove, they're still going to trust Kyle Adnam and the vet just a little bit better with their second unit. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Taron's just wrecked all our plans, hasn't he? Like, we were going to bring him in, and he had those 2 good games, and we said, oh, next round we'll get him in for that cash bump, and it didn't happen. And now I think we're all in a position where we don't have a spare 200K at guard. We don't have spare trades. You know, Will Hickey's gone and done Will Hickey things, and now he's going up another 50K probably, and we can't get off him just yet. I think we're going to miss the Taron price bump.
Yeah, I think so.
Schedule's gone.
Oh, can I talk about something that's really disappointing? Rob Edwards, 35 points in the first game, fouls out with 2 points in this one. This was an absolute turd burger.
He didn't even look close to doing anything. His head was not in the game here.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say with this one.
If anyone's missing Taron, it's probably Rob Edwards.
Absolutely. Mate, I know we go through some of the most traded in and traded out on our Wednesday show. We go through the previews. We talk about our targets, our captain choices, and everything like this. But something we have started chatting about in this one is break evens. And I just want to cover a couple ones. Give me a thumbs up and thumbs down as to if you think that they are fool's gold or not. Alex Higgins Tisha.
Fool's gold.
Jackson McCoy.
Oh, he'll get his break even, but you'll get stuck with him. He'll be like
you mean he won't?
Can't get out of your team.
You mean he won't have 8 turnovers and 0 points?
Yeah,
cool. Got it. I'm glad you're instilling me with this much confidence. Will Hickey negative 12.
Oh yeah, Will Hickey. He's definitely not fool's gold. The only fool is anyone who traded him out.
Montrezl Harrell with a minus 10 break even. I did have some DMs asking me if I think that we should be bringing Harrell in.
I don't think you can do it. Look, minus 10's a great break even. He's probably going to have a little bit of cash, but he's going to sit there and looking at that schedule. Right now, it's looking pretty ordinary all the way through to off the screen. You just can't do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about the bad things he could do to Jonah Bolden next week, though.
Yeah. Look, if you are going to play a guy on a single, there's not many you can do it with. He's probably one of them.
Yeah. I agree. I'm going to keep going through the negative break-evens, guys. I know I said Ulbrich and Hickey are dead. Shut up. Jonah Antonio, negative 10 break even.
I don't know, I'm just enjoying this hickey talk.
Cool. Jonah Antonio, -10 break even, mate.
No, don't like it. Look, he's been thereabouts all year. He fluctuates, but I think the return of Taron Armstrong pushes him further down the bench. He's streaky. I don't trust the guy.
Flynn Cameron,
Oh, what's the status of
-9.
Illy?
Might be back next week.
Yeah. Look, you said it best earlier tonight. You can't trust that Melbourne guard rotation. I think Flynn's done a great job, and he might get his break even, but over the next couple of rounds, the minutes aren't going to be there. There's just not enough to go around.
You're right. I did say it, Ilya. One
of your best.
Taron Armstrong, -3.
Oh, if this was a week ago, I would have said 100%. But look, that schedule for the Taipans is not really tempting me into too much at all. You look down the
That's
bottom, they've got
4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles in a row.
Yeah, it's 4 singles in a row.
Cool.
Because you're not real good at counting, but I just
Forgot to carry the one.
he was good enough that I wanted him, but probably not good enough to be must-have.
Yeah,
Like
like Hickey.
let's yeah. Look, we're looking to wrap this up shortly, but let's answer a couple of questions before we hop off.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
Answering that was really good. We've answered. Should you start Pinder or Montrez next week?
Pinder. I think you can't go past the double.
No. Mate, Jackson Buttsworth always watches this in the morning, but popped on because he really wanted to ask us a question. How do you feel about boosting for Harrison this week?
An interesting one. I think it probably depends on the makeup of your team. If you can boost and get him as your backup center, I'm pretty keen on that. Look, I think you're going to want to own him at least next round when Brisbane start to approach their doubles. But I think this is a round where you really need 5 genuine studs in your starting lineup. I don't think you can play Harrison this week as your starter.
I'm not entirely convinced it's boost worthy. I don't know who you'd be going down to get Harrison, considering how centers have been pretty ordinary this year. It does depend on who you're getting out, but I just think if you could work Harrison in next week, because a lot of these guys have you're hopefully getting the Perth guys that you want this week. You've already got your Southeast Melbourne and Melbourne guys you want. Maybe getting your Southeast Melbourne and Melbourne guys again, considering they've still got a double going forward. I think you've just got other priorities than boosting in Harrison this week.
Yeah, and look, he's had a couple of okayish rounds. I don't think he's going to really get out of your price range too quickly either. Look, if you can make some cash for one more week and make that gap up to Harrison a bit smaller, maybe that's the way to go.
Mate, Scotty Warwick, what price do you think Matt Mooney can peak at this season? This is your boy. He's just about ready to set and forget PJC and Mooney at guard.
Yeah, look, I think he could probably tickle 350. I think he's probably one of those guys that has pleasantly surprised us with the way he attacks the whole stat sheet. We had him sort of picked as a shooter, and he's just so much more than that. He'd have to be close to leading the league in steals now. He's good. Even on a bad shooting night, he's still scoring.
Mate, Grant Anticevic. Oh, yeah, Mooney does kind of seem like the lamb of last year. That's a good call. Grant Anticevic or Higgins Teacher by Crafty Fat Boy, our friend in the comments.
Can I say neither?
You can. But, if you've got to go, if something like this is allowing you to go and, let's say an Aldrich to a Pinder or something like that, Like maybe you just need a 58K guy to get you through for a little
All right.
bit. Gun to your head, who are you taking?
Anticevic. I think
Cool.
Higgins Titcher, whatever his name is, only plays in a blowout. I'd be interested to look at his game log and see how many times he's actually played more than a minute. Anticevic is actually playing meaningful minutes. He's shooting the ball well, and floor spacing is something that team desperately needs. Look, understandably, Mo King's been out. Understandably, Mitch McCarron's been out. But I think he has more of a role, and there's more chance of him playing in non-garbage time than there is for the guy up in Cairns.
I agree. To tie in with this question, Rob's Punker saying, is there any cash cows left? I'm not sure these 58K guys and 69K guys and even sub 100K guys I consider to be huge cash cows at this stage. I think that they've been down near that 100K for a reason. There hasn't been any huge, like obviously the Taron injury is giving Jackson McCoy some burn, but no like season long injuries that really has me chasing these guys. I think it's jumping on the Lopez's and your Malik Lewis's and some of these guys that are 140 to 170K that you can see getting to 220 as they are still cash cows. But I think we've just got to reevaluate what we consider to be a cash cow at this stage because I think it's getting like if Tyrell Harrison goes down, it's getting Rocco Zakarski at the right time. I think that we're just going to be paying 120 to 170K for our cash cows at the moment.
Now, I think there's two parts to this too. I can think of a couple of cash cows, but they've got horrible schedules. Makes them almost unplayable. And like you said, the cash cows that are left are not your bargain basements. You're paying up a little bit. Like Taron Armstrong comes to mind. Negative break even. He's around that, 199,000, something like that. You know the roles there. You know he's the man in Cairns. You know they've been struggling. He's going to make cash. Whether you can hold 199K on your bench, that's the question you've got to ask yourself. But most of our cash cows now are going to come from changes in situation, whether it's Sydney with Jalen Adams potentially out long term, whether it's someone who's going to fill the void of Cam Oliver when he packs his bags and says, I'm going home, I've had enough of you, Gorge. It's going to be that kind of situation, I think.
I'm with you. What do you do if you're a Delhi owner? I think with 4 games in the next 2 weeks, even the fact that they eased him in last game, but he saw some court time, I think that Delhi's still a hold. You might leak some cash, but you just hope that over the 4 games he can get back up close to what you paid for him.
Yeah, look, I think he's holdable. We talked about it the other week where he's going to force the issue. It's Illy that always ends up coming off second fiddle. I don't love the 3-guard rotation, but right now Melbourne's got a solid schedule, and the only other guards we're looking at outside of that is Yamuni, PJC, Sobey potentially. There's not a whole lot at guard who have a decent schedule over these next couple of weeks, so you could do a hell of a lot worse.
Mate, I gave my opinions on Kareem Lopez.
Yep.
What about you, my friend?
I'm tempted. Like you said, he's probably a cash cow, man. He's going to play. I think there's enough opportunity that we've seen. He hasn't always capitalized on it, and you're going to have ups and downs with a guy who's 17 years old. Like, man, when I was 17 years old, I wouldn't be doing half the things he was doing. Definitely not consistently. But
you wouldn't have that
enough.
haircut.
Yeah, there's enough upside to ride it, though. Don't you reckon? It's more reward than risk, right?
I think so. I think that he's Malik Lewis from 2 weeks ago, and that's panned out for owners. He's went up 40K. Look, he could just go back into his shell and be in that role that he was at the start of the year. But I think with this 37-point output in the last one, Supercoach point output, I think that he's earning his stripes, and I think that he will get some burn at least in the next couple of weeks. Remember, it's double into another couple singles yet, so it's not like you're buying somebody from Perth. Like maybe a Benny Henschel is better than Kareem Lopez this week.
Yeah, but look, New Zealand have a pretty good track record with these next stars. And if you look back, you got RJ Hampton, you got Usman Jeng, you've got Hugo Besson, even though he wasn't really a next star. You've got who was the other one? There's been a bunch of them, and they all came on late in the season. It's like they earn their stripes for the first half, and then they get unleashed. And look, I'm expecting bigger things in the second half from him.
All right, we've got two more questions. We've got an NFL Maverick host of our NFL show, believe it or not, with that name. Josh King coaching now. Do we think that he sees Sobey as a liability and moves him to the bench? I don't think so until Derek Walton Jr. is back. Sobey is the lead guard on this team, and they'll live and die by Sobey for the next couple of weeks.
I don't think you have any choice. Without Derek Walton there, Sobey has to play. You're not going to play Glover. You're not going to play Foxwell. You're not going to play... God, who else they got in that team? It's Sobey. It's Sobey or nothing until Walton comes back.
Absolutely. And one that I'm considering, where do I go with Ulbrich? Brett, our Squeeze of the Week winner this week. He has him at centre and only sees fool's gold as he's reluctant to trade his starting five and have no cash. Do we think Sobey's a hold? I think he's got a 26 break even, goes into a string of singles. What do you think?
It's difficult because there is very few options at that cheaper price point for centres. I really... God, you can't even go to Rocco Zakarsky. He's playing like shit. I don't know where you go. I think you've almost got to hold until this run of all your starters who are primos comes to an end, and you're going to have to go a downgrade to maybe a Harrison and then deal with your bench.
I'm not even 100% sure going Ulbrich to a Marcus Lee or a Rob Lowe even really accomplishes anything, just due to that perfect minute slip. I think Marcus Lee has overtaken Rob Lowe as a better Supercoach player in the last couple of weeks, quietly. And that's due to his huge blocks. I think he's had something like 17 blocks this year in 9 games. So there were 3 Supercoach points for those of you playing at home. But I still don't really think you're accomplishing anything, and you still have to pay up.
Yeah,
I hate nothing out in round 7 though either. So I think maybe you just hold him and hope somebody emerges.
Yeah, and look, if you had a really good option at forward and you could get rid of Matt Hurt, not that you'd really want to, for a Pinder with the better schedule going forward, you could downgrade your bench. Who knows? But I don't think anyone's in that position where they've got a real primo forward on their bench either. It's a tough spot to be in.
I know I like Pinder this week, but if you have Matt Hurt, I think the play is I would hold Matt Hurt over Pinder this week. I don't have Matt Hurt. I went Cooks last week. Pretty stoked about that. But I'm not going Pinder over Hurt if I don't.
I think I can do both.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
One more point. The NFL Mavericks chimed in saying air. No. He kind of looks like Ben Air though too, if you've seen NFL Maverick in real life. So it's only because he's just been signing Ben Air on people's shoes down at the local rec centre down there at Frankston. But Branger.
Mate, I mean, that's enough shit talk. Let's wrap it up. We're back Wednesday, same time as usual, I expect. Look, pop into our DMs on our Discord or on our Patreon. Happy to answer all your questions. Nothing from you, mate?
No. It's been an Insight Fantasy podcast. Cheerio.